if y'all want me to cover this whole thing, this whole conversation, because it's a long conversation, but if y'all actually want me to cover the whole thing later on, we can do that. But I just want to talk about these couple of clips.
What's going on in Gaza is the equivalent of BLM. Why the distinguishment? Why is this issue at the forefront of the news when hundreds of thousands since 9/11?
This is what happens when you. Before I even. This is what happens when you go to Twitter to get your fucking info. I've experienced this when motherfuckers want to debate me about some shit that they don't know about, but I'm like would probably consider myself an expert on. Like, this is what happens when you go to Twitter to get your information. Just wait.
5 million plus people in the Middle East have died. 5 million. 5 million versus 30,000. Where are the marches? Where are the protests?
You haven't been around. No. You just haven't been around.
Yeah, they've been around, guys. They have been. Yeah, I know. There were a bunch of protests about Iraq. I'm 35, so like I wasn't even an adult whenever the Iraq war started, and I know there's been protests still. There were protests when I was in the military, when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. There was a bunch of protests about Syria. There was a bunch of protests about Yemen and Trump's vote to veto Trump veto legislation to stop the bombing on Yemen, and there was protests for that. There was protests for Trump bombing Syria. Yep. Yeah. Like, bro, you just because your ass is sitting in the fucking podcast studio not living in the real world doesn't mean the real world doesn't exist. I don't know how many times we have to tell these people that shit, but
their own.
No, but I also read the newspapers. I see what's going on. If you ask the average person, they couldn't tell you that there's a war in Yemen.
The average person couldn't tell you that there's a war in Yemen. Do you want to tell him why there's a war in Yemen? Anybody? For 50 virtual dollars. I don't really got $50. But for $50, anybody want to tell him why is there a war in Yemen, everybody? Because the U.S. gave a bunch of money to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has been funding the war in Yemen. That's why there's a war in Yemen. Yeah. But hey, let them dig their own hole.
Mental gymnastics where you want to divert people to other conflicts. Actually, your tone of voice when you say, oh, there is like black on black, Arabs killing each other. This is different. America is not standing behind Saudi Arabia like Israel. You can talk about how Saudis are killing the Houthis or the Yemenis. You know how many vetoes did America use since the inception of the Security Council? How many?
Tell me.
88. How many of those were they used in order to protect Israel from a veto?
Look at his face. Look at his face. Look at his face. Oh my God. He said, oh shit. A question about facts about the situation. Oh, I wasn't prepared for this.
6. Oh. The superpower of the world over 50. 56.
Oh.
The superpower of the world over 50 years used more than 65% of its veto power to protect one country. You cannot compare both.
Bruh. First of all, that stat I did not know until I watched that video. That is insane. 56 out of 88 vetoes that the United States has used was to protect Israel. Holy shit. What? Bro, what? I don't want to hear it. Dog, I don't know. All those America First people, I don't want to hear it now. I do not want to hear it. I had America First bullshit because these people won't even step in and use executive authority to provide for the American people, but they'll do so to protect Israel from accountability. And by the way, from basic accountability. They will risk credibility to help Israel avoid accountability. Oh, but we got some more for you. He does not stop embarrassing himself. He just keeps on going.
Israel, Silicon Valley of the Middle East. What can be done with the countries that are quote unquote shitholes?
Okay, give me a
Look,
Israel is definitely the Silicon Valley of the Middle East. You know how? The same way that the U.S. funds Silicon Valley to make sure they can have control over the situation. Facebooks of the world, the Twitters of the world, obviously. Tesla even. Yeah, they're the Silicon Valley of the Middle East. The U.S. is funding them, or else they wouldn't have these inventions.
Bahrain, UAE, Israel, Silicon Valley of the Middle East. What can be done with the countries that are quote unquote shitholes?
Okay, give me a country like a shithole. Give me an example.
I'm looking at the unemployment rates in all these countries.
Give me one country.
Afghanistan,
Okay.
Syria,
Afghanistan.
Lebanon.
Why Afghanistan became a shithole country?
Because they endorsed the Taliban.
They did.
It was at this point that Samuel Ganji knew that he had fucked.
They did.
Yeah.
Isn't that a little bit of a reductive way to tell history? Because at the beginning, there was no Taliban, and then the Soviet Union came in, and then America came in, supported the Taliban, make them bigger than they were, and then at the end of the day, they support. If you remember Rambo 3 was supporting the Taliban, so Taliban was really cool, and even they were even hailed by right-wing Christians as freedom fighters, anti-communists. And then what happened? America, some people like the Richard Wilson Wall wanted him to come in to put some schools. That no. We spend all of this money of tanks on weapons. We don't need to put them schools. What happened? Taliban flourished, all because of America interfered, made it shitty, left everything. Taliban flourished, and then America went in again, spent $2 billion, make it even $2 trillion, made it even worse. So when you tell me like a country is not,
Bro, are you really trying to tell me that this guy Adam had zero idea that the U.S. is the reason for the Taliban? Did he actually believe that the Taliban was so organized, so powerful, so well equipped with weapons because of like natural causes and circumstances? You trying to tell me you entered into a conversation with an Arab who spent the last several months, probably more than that, obviously, but at least the last several months debating dumb Zionist pricks like this motherfucker. You came into this conversation and decided, I'm going to make an argument that the Taliban is in power because the people of Afghanistan started it, and it's their fault that they're in these situations. And you didn't even know that the Taliban was created by the U.S. His Mr. Youssef's patience is just immaculate. I don't know how he's doing it because I'd be laughing.
surviving. It's not because there are bad people there. No. You have to come into the root cause. Every single country that you said, I can bring you the root cause of how America and the West has fucked this country to become.
Go to Syria. Go to Lebanon.
This man just said go to Syria. I know that Bassem doesn't actually have any like ability to present a photo, but you want to anybody who's ever seen a picture of Syria before the United States decided to fucking destroy their nation and after would know. Syria is one of the most prosperous nations in the world. Yeah. Syria was one of the most prosperous nations in the world. So we had to bring in some freedom. ISIS is only in Syria because the U.S. put them there. Really, go to Lebanon. Even with Lebanon, the U.S. is responsible for all the drama in Lebanon. Like, does he really? They just be giving anybody podcasts in a fucking bag. They just throw money at whoever. I'm sure if you go back and listen to some of the dumb shit he says, I know this guy's got to be famous, not for hopefully for nothing to do with politics. Probably just talks about women. Probably just talks shit about women and how men shouldn't be held accountable for anything that they do. It's probably the crux of his podcast. Not positive, but go to Bashar al-Assad.
there.
Yeah.
Bashar al-Assad,
Yeah.
killing his own people, gassing his own.
Didn't happen. Just didn't happen. That now he's quoting Democrat propaganda, pro-neoliberal propaganda.
People.
Mainstream media propaganda. And I know that this guy at least is one of those cats who loves to complain about the mainstream media, but you know, if it serves my agenda, then I'll definitely quote it.
Well, that's Americans' fault.
Who's he supported? Who is he supported by?
That's the whole problem in the Middle East.
Okay.
You have Sunni, you have Shiite, you've got Houthi rebels, you got
Every
That's the whole problem in the Middle East. What the fuck is that? Yeah, you are, even though Bashar al-Assad isn't supported by the US, but he is right. Like, you always gotta look who's supported by who. And the whole problem in the Middle East is that the majority of the countries with problems, significant issues, that have been unable to overcome those issues, is support. The opposition is supported by the U.S. The destabilizing force is supported by the U.S.
single country in
it's
the
a
Middle
quagmire
East,
wrapped in a riddle, and then surrounded by Islamic terror.
Every single Middle East.
It's a quagmire wrapped in a riddle. What the fuck did he just say?
Country in
it's
the
a
Middle
quagmire
East,
wrapped in a riddle,
Middle East,
and then surrounded by Islamic terrorists.
And then surrounded by Islamic terrorists. I don't even know what it's not a riddle, bro. The U.S. would stay the fuck out of the Middle East, there wouldn't be problems, basically, in the Middle East. I mean, there would be problems like every other region has. Like, every region has problems, but Islamic extremism was literally created in a school. It was the University of Indiana at the Pakistan campus. That is not hyperbole. That is a fact, y'all. That is a fucking fact. Literally, the U.S. taught Islamic extremism. It's a fact. Y'all know my theory? I haven't been able to prove it yet, but I'm on the road to proving it. I have a theory that the Ottoman Empire strikes fear in the hearts of the U.S. because everybody knows, well, my audience should know at least, World War I and World War II is primarily about breaking up the Germanic and Russian empires. 100%. Now, a byproduct of that eventually became, likely because of the oil, because like the world knew that the world was transitioning to oil, and the empires knew that the world, so they began to break up the Ottoman Empire in their own unique ways while nobody was paying attention. But if you really look at what happened with Gaddafi, for example, Gaddafi had the ability to do what? Reunite the Arab nations, right, economically. But he also, because of his unique location, was going to have the powers that effectively made up the Ottoman Empire united, but also have the African world united simultaneously. Do you think that the NATO world would allow that to happen? Do you think that they'd be, hell no. So beyond the oil, beyond the resources, right? Beyond the natural gas, all that good shit. Beyond the proximity to Russia in cases like Afghanistan and other areas. Beyond the beef with Iran. The reality is they did all that work to break up the Ottoman Empire, the Russian Empire, and the Germanic Empire. Do you really think that they're going to allow stability in the Middle East? No. No. Stability and unity in the Middle East means stability and unity probably in Africa, which, and most certainly those two areas would unite against the West. And there's no winning, because what are we going to do? Well, what can we do against that? Nothing. Not economically anyway, so there'll have to be a war, and I think China and Russia are going back the other side. So we would be fucked. That's just my theory, though.
Every single Middle
Figure it out.
So Bashar Hussein is not you cannot really put Bashar Hussein as a Islamic terrorist thing, you know,
because he's fighting ISIS, which we're funding ISIS to fight against Bashar al-Assad.
Who's funding ISIS?
You tell me.
Qatar.
He just said we're funding. Did he not just say we're funding ISIS? He just said it. We're funding ISIS to fight against Bashar al-Assad. Oh, so you know the reason why. Syria looks the way it does. Interesting. Okay, I just want to
You
make
cannot
sure.
really put Bashar Hussein as a Islamic terrorist thing, you know, because
No, because he's fighting ISIS,
Yeah,
which we're funding
but
ISIS to fight against
who's,
Bashar
fighting,
al-Assad.
who's funding ISIS?
You tell me.
You tell me.
Qatar, who's actually funded by the United States. All right. So yeah, you don't understand. You see, this is how complicated.
I do understand how complicated it is.
No, you
People
don't.
in the Middle East are either supported by Russia or supported by America, and they're fighting each other. So at the end of the day, you have people who've come to
Look,
I do understand how complicated it is. No, you don't. No, you don't. You fucking liar. No, you don't. You do not understand, or else we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'll show you one more clip.
I'm turn it back on Israel. I'm
This is
asking you specifically.
I wanted to show you this because it's just base. It's just some dope shit.
No, you want to focus on Gaza and then you want to turn it back
you-
on Israel. I'm asking you
I'm
specifically.
sorry. Let's not
why-
talk about Israel if that will make you a little bit nervous. Do you
we
wanna
could talk about Israel
you
for the
wanna
next
talk about
2
other
hours.
countries in the Arab world so we can prove that Arabs could be bombed at any time because we were fucking poor?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what you're saying.
No,
So they're just like poor people killing each other, and we're just like there watching them.
No.
I'm sorry that, dude. I like you, but seriously, your undertone is fucking racist from the beginning until the end. You are looking at those people as lesser people who have made bad choices, and because they are poor, they are okay to be fucking bombed by Israel.
Okay, this is the third time you've used the racist word. I've never said that once about you.
Your undertone is very, very, very offensive.
So when I read, no, you want to focus on.
Bro, that's it. I've said this how many times? Bro, y'all know me. Y'all know I don't really be throwing around the racist shit like that. I can't stand it. I can't stand whenever the word is watered down and used to deflect from accountability. We see it all the time with neoliberals, used to push a certain agenda that is not going to actually help any oppressed race. Like it's not. I can't stand that shit. Y'all know. But he is right. The racist undertones. It's their fault. Why? Because that's just how brown people are, man. It's just how Arabs are, man. It's just how Desis are, man. That's how they are. They just fight all the time. They just bomb each other. Oh, interesting. So why is it right now that we're seeing Israel go into Gaza and act like fucking animals? Like Vikings. Except for, at least Vikings fought soldiers. Israel's fighting kids. Why is it the US is constantly intervening in everyone's business? Once again, killing millions of innocent people. The undertone that Arabs and Africans are like things are the way they are there in those respective nations, in those respective continents or areas of a continent. Like the undertone that, oh man, it's just the way it is because that's how they are. Nah. It's the way it is because there is an immense superpower, a couple of them actually, who are going through extensive lengths to make sure those areas are destabilized. And when shit is destabilized, everyone is desperate and there's no holds barred. Everything is unpredictable. Everything is chaotic. That's how the world works. That's how neighborhoods work. That's how communities work. So imagine a fucking country. That's how it works. Also, just out of curiosity, why does ISIS attack Israel again? I just don't understand. I am on Rumble Jeff, by the way. It's on. Why hasn't ISIS attacked Israel, guys? I'm just kind of curious. They attack everybody else. They are really busy attacking secular Arab nations, but seem to have a problem finding the route to Israel. And I was told that all Islamic extremists want to destroy Israel, wipe them off the face of the planet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're like, what did Israel always say, y'all? don't know what that was. What is Israel always trying to say? They're always saying Hamas is ISIS. We never see ISIS attack Israel. Hamas, obviously. Why is that? And when you find out the answer to that question, then you understand why the region looks the way it does. But the reason that you don't care about the lives that are lost in that region, and I want to be very clear about this, is because you think that they are lesser. You think that they are, like, you just feel like they're equivalent to animals. That's how they are. How can you be so apathetic? Like, whatever my debate would be over Israel and Palestine, it's like, say, even if I was on the, like, say if I was not even pro-Israel, but just pro-Israel existence. I'm not really that. I'm not gonna lie to you. But say if I was pro-Israel existence, but I'm witnessing what happened in Gaza, I would just have to sit back and let people vent and let them cook. Like, cause like, yeah, really, it don't matter how pro-Israel I can't be pro-Israel existence. And then like, cause now I have to question why I'm pro their existence, but either anti-Palestinian or complicit in the deaths of thousands of Palestinian children. Because then you have to weigh out, why would I care about one group and not the other group? Is it religion? Because if it was religion, that's wrong. If it's ethnicity, that's also wrong. Is it culture? That's also wrong. There is no scenario anybody in any situation can feel like it's the loss of however many, it was 1,400, then it was 1,200, is less than that. However many hundred is somehow worse than the loss of tens of thousands of innocent people. There's no way. That's why when people say, hey man, I have a problem with innocent lives being lost in any situation. And I agree with that. I do. I understand the Palestine's need to defend itself and do whatever it feels it needs to do to defend itself. That I do understand. But I also understand the position. I feel like innocent life should be protected at all costs. Cool. I get it. But don't say that if you don't fucking mean it. Because y'all don't mean it a lot of the times. Guys like Adam don't actually mean that shit. Right? Because how could you? Why are you making an argument about how we go from Israel, like from Gaza, to look at the rest of the Middle East? That's how it always goes. That's just how those people are. That's what they always say.